So we will start.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Nagda ma'am, shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay, so continuing our discussions further on assessment, we have had a lot of discussion about uh, different assessment methods and the advantages and the challenges, and we have seen how to what to say make maximum benefit out of these assessment methods which we are all using. Okay, so fine. Now let's try to understand a little more about these concepts of. We have talked about blueprinting a lot. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we have talked about blueprinting. So we a lot, and you will be presenting. You have presented also. So we will not touch about that, but basically about these concepts of reliability and validity. So there has been some discussions in the previous sessions. So let's just discuss a bit more about these concepts a little bit today. Okay, yeah. So again, just to acknowledge the Institute of MET and Teachers Training of MUHS for all these resources which we are using. So a short session over here. What are our objectives? Basically, discuss the concepts of reliability and validity and see how it applies to our assessment design. Okay, so to understand these concepts, let's understand a short story first, an incident which happened with the teacher. So we'll see what has happened and we'll then try to understand the concepts more better. So Vidya is a 10th standard statistics teacher. There are 4 divisions in the school of 10th class. So in the beginning of the term, she started teaching the concept of general statistical terms to all the 4 classes. So she has only taught all the 4 divisions the concept of general statistical terms. At the end, she decides to take an assessment for these students, and therefore she creates an MCQ test based on the concept of general statistical terms and decides to take the test the next day. Okay, so she's a teacher, she has only taught the topic to all the 4 batches, and she now creates an MCQ test to check the students' understanding. So the next morning, she gave the test to the first class without any obstruction. Okay, very comfortably, all the students attended the test. Now, when the time came for the second class, she had just distributed the MCQ question papers to the students, and suddenly there was a call from the principal of the school, and the students were immediately called for a choir practice. So now she had already given away the test paper, so she cannot take it back. But then she had to leave the class early because the principal has called. So what did she do? Immediately on the spot, she told the students to attempt only 10 alternate questions. Okay, so all the odd number questions she instructed the students to attempt, and that's how she somehow finished the class and she left the students, and the students left her. She thought that I'll just double the marks in the end. So all the students attempted 10 questions, and she decided that she will just multiply 10 into 2 to bring about uniformity. Now, in the lunch break, she lost the locker keys, and unfortunately all the papers were in the locker. Okay, but and she had to take the test for the remaining 2 batches. So what to do now? She cannot create the same test again, it was too long to type the question. So she quickly creates 10 SAQ questions similar to the MCQs and delivers it to the third class. Okay, so now the first 2 classes have given MCQs. The third class is now giving an SAQ test on the same topic. And while the test was being conducted for the third class, finally she found the keys and went to the fourth class. But again, the electricity went off up, and there were no fans. The students were grumbling. It was very hot and sweaty. But somehow the students managed to give the test. And then she collected all the papers back. Okay. So finally, at the end of the day, Mrs. Vidya, who is the teacher, she has taught this topic. She has managed to take a class for an assessment for all the four batches. So now here is our point for discussion, that to what extent will the interpretation of the results be appropriate and meaningful and useful, and to what extent will the results be free from errors. Okay, so what are your comments on this now? What do you all feel?
Sir, as the questions are of different type, they are meant to assess different knowledge level of the student. Some are to recollect whatever they have read, and some questions are to maybe application based. So while the person has changed, the teacher has changed the question pattern, it will assess what she was supposed to assess. Maybe it is the situation was managed, but that proper depth of knowledge was not checked.
So, any one of you remember that this scenario was discussed earlier? Anyone remember that this scenario, same scenario I had discussed earlier? No, Sandhya, not even you. So you and Arun almost attend all classes.
Ma'am, I am not remembering
Okay,
that.
so that's why we are discussing it again today.
Yeah, but just imagine there, after Tuesday, I think they forget about everything they learned.
Okay, fine. So coming back to the questions, okay, so would anyone, thank you, Dr. Minna. Anyone else would like to comment about what happened in the test?
Sir,
Yes,
actually, there is no uniformity in assessment of the test, sir. That is one thing which is lacking.
in what way, sir? Three batches gave the same MCQ test, and one gave SAQ, which was on the same topic.
But there the MCQs they were already leaked. The same question, so that is also one problem.
No,
Sir.
questions were not leaked. For every batch, there was no intermingling of students. The questions from batch A and the four classes did not come to know what the question paper was. So there was no leakage.
Uniform assessment is not maintained, sir. Though the questions are different, means that
Okay.
because for the same batch the questions are different, so that is again the lack of uniform assessment is there, sir.
Okay.
One is lack of uniform methodology, one is lack of uniform assessment.
Okay.
So
Yes.
both are not.
So if we now do find out an average or calculate the average of the four classes and try to find out a correlation coefficient between the scores obtained by the four batches, will the correlation be high, or what do you feel, or will it not be high?
There will not be any correlation only, sir, because the topics for MCQs would be different, for SAQs would be different. So there is no validation of what topics were selected for MCQ.
Let's be very selective in our words, madam.
Okay, sir.
We are not talking about validity right now.
Okay.
A simple question, that can the scores be compared? We can compare. I mean, that's what generally happens. The first batch scored 16 out of 20, which is an average, and the second batch scored 8 out of 10. Again, same proportion. So the third batch might have scored say 14 out of 20. So the scores might still be similar based on the performance.
So the comparison should be made within the class rather than between the class, because the test methodology assessment is different for each things. The duration given is different. The type of questions and the number of questions and the marking is different. So the comparison should not be happening between the classes, and it should be happening within the classes.
Okay. Yes. So,
The percentile.
sorry, sir.
Percentile which we speak, no, sir. So that's what they have to in the same subject. They can take out the percentile and they can say how many respondents answered properly in the same group, but not between the groups.
Okay. So now let us come to this concept of reliability. Now, reliability refers to consistency of assessment outcomes. Okay. So whether the scores, so these are the, so talking about the four batches, yes, as you all said, the condition, although for the three batches the test was the same, but the conditions in which the assessment was taken was different for every batch. The second batch had to just give half of the paper and the scores were doubled. The third class had a totally different format of exam, which was on SAQs. And for the fourth batch, although the question paper was same, but the physical environment in which they gave the test was not conducive and feasible. Okay, so the conditions of all the four batches were different, and as a result of which we feel that the scores cannot be compared. So with that, what do we and what is this concept of reliability? So now, would the score or the student's ranking be reproduced if the student is tested again? And second point is, would the score or the student rankings be reproduced if they are tested by different raters? Okay, so the first statement over here refers to an intra-rater reliability, as in if the same student is giving the exam again, whether the student will score similar grades or marks versus there would be a large difference. So if the score is what to say, the scores or the marks are comparable, then we can say that the reliability is high. But if the scores, or if there is a big or a huge difference in the scores, then there's something probably wrong with the reliability. And the same about the second point, whether the scores or the rankings be reproduced by different raters. So this is something more familiar to us, where we have different multiple examiners giving scores to a specific student. So suppose examiner A, the first examiner, gives say 12 out of 20, and the second examiner gives 13 or 14 out of 20. That then the scores are, we can say, can we say that they are similar?
Sir, how can it can be different in an MCQ, sir?
No, not in an MCQ, but in any other format, say an SAQ or a Viva.
It can be different, sir.
Yes, but suppose now one examiner, say in a case of a Viva, one examiner is giving 10 out of 20 and the second examiner is giving 18 out of 20. Now, can we say that the scores are similar or comparable?
No, sir.
No, because the difference in the scores is too high. So that is what is meant by inter-rater reliability. Okay. So basically, reliability is referring to the consistency of the scores and the outcomes. Now let us move on to the concept of validity, and then we'll try to understand both these together. So what is validity? Validity refers to the evidence whether your assessment is measuring what it is supposed to measure. And the second dimension of validity is related to the appropriateness of interpretation of results. Okay, so let us take another example now. Suppose I am teaching my students the topic of blood pressure. Okay, I have taught them the entire theoretical aspect. I have taught them what is blood pressure, what are the factors regulating blood pressure. No, I have also taught them how to take a blood pressure reading on a model. These are first year students, of course. And then I now decide to take a test for the students. So I create a 20 MCQ test and I deliver it to the class. And the average scores obtained by the students is 16 out of 20. Okay, so 80% score. That's the average marks obtained. So can I say that my students have a good understanding about the concept of blood pressure? 80% score, a fairly good understanding about the concept. Can I make that inference? Yes or no? Dr. Anand, you're muted.
80% in the sense it is
Sir, it can have
reliable,
two
sir.
interpretations. Sir, one, as you said, The understanding of the subject may be good, due to which all of them might have answered. That is one interpretation. The other interpretation is the questions, whatever is asked, they are too easy for the student to answer. So they are not checking the proper skills or say the knowledge of the student. So that may be the
So
one of the.
that is that how, and how will we come to know from that? We have to do an item analysis for that.
Yes.
Okay, but assuming we have done the item analysis and we have found that the questions are a well proper mix, so the tool was perfectly designed. If we take consider that, and then it's an average of 80 to 85% score obtained by the class as an average. Can I broadly assume or make an inference that my students have got a good understanding about the concept of blood pressure? Yes or no?
Broadly,
Yes, sir.
broadly, yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And from the same scores, I will also make an inference that my students will be able to take an accurate blood pressure reading.
Yes.
Can I assume that?
No, sir.
Skills
No. It depends
Skills has to be
which aspect you have tested.
Yes, exactly.
Your
So
questions are targeted for which aspect.
exactly. So if from an MCQ test, I am making an inference that my students have got good knowledge, then the validity of that assessment is high. But if from that same MCQ test, if I make an inference that they'll be able to take an appropriate blood pressure reading, then that is a low validity of assessment. Understanding? So validity is with respect to whether we are assessing what we are supposed to assess. From an MCQ, what was I supposed to assess? I was supposed to assess their knowledge, their understanding, their ability to apply the knowledge. So if that is what I'm assessing using a specific tool, that is a higher validity. Whereas if I want to assess them on their ability to take a proper blood pressure assessment, then I should maybe take a practical exam or a clinical exam or an OSCE. Something where they are actually performing the test and I'm assessing them on their skills. So if that is the kind of tool used and I am making the appropriate interpretation, then the validity of that assessment is high. So that is what is meant by interpretation of the results. So coming back to the slide, validity is evidence that your assessment is measuring what it is supposed to measure. So from what was I supposed to measure? I was supposed to measure their knowledge. Did I assess their knowledge? Yes, it's a high validity. But what interpretation did I make? From the same tool, if I'm misinterpreting something, then the validity goes down. So if from an MCQ test or a theory test, basically any test of assessment of cognition, if I'm making an inference for an assessment of skill, then the validity will go down. And therefore, validity is a matter of degree. It is never on an all or none basis. Validity will never be full 1 on 1 or 0 on 1, but it will be somewhere on a linear scale. Okay, so how do we know whether our assessment is valid? So these are a few points. Whether the outcomes were well defined, did the exam blueprint adequately represent the objectives of the course, did the exam content match the outcomes being assessed, what were the expertise of the paper setters, how many experts were involved in setting the paper, were the students familiar with the format, did all the students take exams in similar conditions, like in the previous exam what we saw, the test conditions were different for all the 4 classes, so therefore that validity of that assessment goes down. How were the pass-fail criteria defined? And therefore now our objective is to improve our validity of whatever assessment we are conducting, and therefore what should we keep in mind? So now to build in validity, we need to clearly state the learning outcomes, we need to prepare a detailed blueprint, We know the advantages. We have discussed a lot about that. But your blueprint will help ensure the content is from all the different areas of the curriculum. Choose the appropriate methods and the task. Again, your blueprinting will help in that. Keep difficulty level appropriate. So as you mentioned, neither too easy questions nor too difficult questions. There should be a mixture of different difficulty levels. And finally, have clear directions for administration, scoring, and interpretation of the results. So now, what is the relationship between reliability and validity? This is a dartboard. Everybody familiar with the dartboard? Yes, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we hit, what should be our target? We should hit in the center. Yeah. So now consider our assessment tool to be our dart. Okay, so the first time we conduct the assessment, these are the scores obtained all across the board. So is this reliable? No, every time we are conducting the test, the score obtained is somewhere different. Is this valid? It's not valid because we were supposed to target the center. We were supposed to assess what is in the center, but we have ended up assessing everything else. So such a kind of assessment is neither reliable nor valid. So we realize this has happened. We make some changes in our assessment tool and the pattern, and we conduct a test again. And this is what result we get the next time we do. Now, are the scores reliable?
It's reliable, sir.
It's reliable, sir, because it's not scattered now.
It's not scattered, it's more clustered into one group. So definitely reliable, but is this valid?
No, sir.
It's not valid.
Not valid because still we have not assessed what was supposed to be assessed in the middle. That is in the middle. An example of this, a practical exam. End of the day, the final 1 or 2 students remaining. The examiner is in a hurry to leave. The internal exam. The student comes. The internal examiner tells the external examiner she or she is a good student. Chalo isko 60 de dete out of 80. So one examiner gives 60. एक दो question पूछ लिया. दूसरा examiner ने gives 62. Very good reliability, 60, 62, average 61, and assessment is done. So highly reliable, but was anything actually assessed? No. So this is that scenario where you might have reliable scores, but still assessment was not valid. So again, you realize and you make changes, further changes to improvise your system, and now this is what the scores are. So now are the scores reliable?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Reliable as well as valid.
Reliable and valid.
Reliable and valid. Okay, so I think when it comes to reliability and validity, what should we aim for? Should we go behind ensuring reliability or validity?
Validity.
Both, sir.
Both.
Yes, but if there is one thing which we need to target, what should it be?
Validity.
Reliability,
Yes.
sir.
Ma'am, reliability to ye bhi ho gaya. This is reliable. Is this what we want?
No.
No.
So we should aim for validity. You aim for validity, reliability will automatically come into place. So that is what our target should be, to improve the validity, and
But
reliability will take care of itself. Yeah.
But sir, if we are consistency in reliability, then we will go in the direction of validity, no sir?
No, ma'am. This is also highly consistent. You might conduct exams after exams over here, but still you are not assessing what was supposed to be assessed.
Okay.
You might have multiple examiners assessing students in a practical exam, but still asking them a good detail of cognitive knowledge and not really testing them on their skills.
Okay.
So we need to reflect that in any kind of assessment, what are we actually supposed to assess, and whether we are assessing that or something else. A clinical exam or a practical exam, which is supposed to be an assessment of skills, many a times ends up still being highly dominated by the cognitive domain. So these are the aspects which we need to keep in mind. That's one aspect of uh, what are we actually assessing, and second dimension is the interpretation of results, again as we discussed. Yes. So now over to you all. What comments or queries or questions do you have? This is about validity and reliability. What are your questions?
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
So how do we know that the content is too less or content is apt for,
Okay.
how do we get to know the,
Okay. Okay. So I would like to ask you only. What do you feel after going through all these sessions of
so
assessment over the past couple of weeks? What do we need to do in order to improve the validity now?
so validity, across the examiners, probably we'll have to evaluate from all the examiners and come to consensus regarding the content, how much of content needs to be formed and how the blueprint has to be
So I
framed
think
for
a
that
lot of weightage on the blueprint again.
blueprint. Yes, sir.
So when you're having a proper blueprint will help ensure that your content of assessment is appropriate.
Okay.
It's not just from one area of the curriculum, but you have covered the entire curriculum.
Collective.
So a blueprint will help in that. Second, your blueprint will also then help you to select the appropriate assessment tool.
Yes, sir. True.
So what is the knowledge you're trying to assess, and what is the tool you're going to use? What skills you want to assess with what tools?
Yes, sir.
What affective domain component you want to assess, and how will you assess it?
Yes, sir.
So everything, if you have your clear cut blueprint, it will help to improve your validity a lot.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And of course, your teaching learning, which has happened throughout the
Methodology.
year, whether the learning outcomes are well defined, whether the students are familiar with that. So it's an overflow from the teaching learning process as well.
Okay,
So your teaching learning, if it has been methodological, objectives have been clear from the beginning, and your blueprint is in place, your students are familiar with the format of the assessment, all these factors will help improve the validity finally.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, during our preparation for the blueprinting, sir, we learned certain terminology called content validity and construct validity, criteria related validity. So
Yes.
there are something like inter-rater reliability. Even
Okay.
though we were doing it for the first time, sir, we didn't go depth into it. So we want to hear it from you, sir.
So
Okay.
now I think Arun also should explain that.
Yeah. So again, as you said, you have read these. These are, I agree, these are very abstract concepts.
Sir.
But right now, for the next few minutes, just keep all that aside. Whatever we have discussed today, is that clear? Any queries
Yes.
on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so reliability is referring to consistency.
Hmm.
Validity is referring to what we are assessing. Number one, the content, and second is the interpretation which we are trying to make, which is the meaning or the inference from the test. So now let's bring in those terms of criterion validity, content validity, construct validity. So content validity, again, what are we assessing is your content. Construct validity is or now again, let me ask you, what were the terms and what was your understanding, and let's try to correlate with what we discussed today. Dr. Arun or anyone. Content validity, construct validity, criterion validity.
Sir, validity means what we are intended to measure, sir. The assessment intended to measure.
And whether we are
Anything,
measuring that.
whether we are measuring that.
Okay.
The content validity, what I understand is the
No,
content.
Please explain construct validity more. You are supposed to measure something. Now leave alone skills versus theory. in the cognitive domain itself, in the you are testing a particular thing. So what do you mean by construct? I am very disappointed. I had discussed so many things of this here. That means you people don't go back and recall at all. If you don't recall and don't think about it, exact slides what Gaurang has shown, I have shown you.
Okay, construct validity.
It's
Again,
either theory or the skills that we are measuring.
okay, yeah.
No, no, no. Beyond that, we had discussed certain verbs not to use, certain verbs to use correctly. Whether what you want to test, first of all, decide and make the question accordingly.
The domains, ma'am. Whether
It's
it is
not
addressing the
domains only.
domains.
I said when you say understand, what do you are you? How are you going to give marks? It's a very abstract term. First of all, decide at what level you want to decide, test, and what you want to test, and how will you make this question? How will you put forward so that the learner as well as the examiner, the assessor, and one who makes sets the paper all are on the same line. I had discussed this.
Okay, so ma'am, I have on our group now again just sent one post, a photograph. Just quickly you're defining or trying to differentiate between these. Can you just check that message and try to link it with what we have discussed till now? So content validity, construct validity, and criterion validity. So first, the content validity, whether we are whether your assessment content and composition is appropriate given what is being measured. For example, does the test reflect the knowledge and skills required to do a job or demonstrate that one grasps the course material? So what are you basically assessing is the content. Whether I am assessing the knowledge, or their ability to perform is my content. And that is from across the curriculum. Okay, so the first aspect which we discussed about what is being assessed is your content validity. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
The second aspect of what is the trait or the attribute or the inference which we are trying to make, that is the construct. So whether I am from an MCQ test making an inference that they are having a knowledge, or they are from an MCQ test whether they are able to perform well as a procedure, that is the construct. What am I trying to assess? Whether I am trying to assess their ability to apply their knowledge, or whether I am trying to assess their ability to perform. So the construct deals with whether the assessment is measuring the correct construct. For example, what trait or attribute or the ability or the skill. For example, whether the particular exam is actually measuring the content what is it is supposed to measure.
Sir, just one small
Yes.
one. So construct validity is the type of assessment we choose to measure the required domain. Is it right, sir?
यही था ना
Learning domain.
इंग्लिश
No, that, ma'am, it would be, it's difficult to have a clear-cut demarcation. But
Okay.
construct is again, it's not just about the domain, but also the interpretation which you're making.
Okay. Through the different assessments.
So
which
is it
type of
about
assessment
like,
we are choosing.
sir, suppose if I'll give the example that MCQ is to test the knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and the OSCE and OSCE will be like to perform like blood pressure thing. If you take that subject into account, in the MCQ section, you change, you test their knowledge whether they are having adequate knowledge or not, and in the OSCE, we can ask to perform so that whether they are able to practically deliver it or not. So that can be your construct validity.
Yes. And within the MCQ test, whether your entire content is covered or not, at what level of knowledge you are assessing, that is the content validity. So whether you're within your MCQ test, whether all the 20 MCQs are from different areas of the curriculum, whether the MCQs are assessing different outcomes, important outcomes, that will all define the content validity. So I think
Sir,
based on today's discussion now, please go back and again read through these concepts once again. These are difficult to. I totally agree. These are abstract concepts, or that's why, as Madam said, last time Madam had covered it a couple of sessions ago, and it's very volatile. So if you, I assure you, if you don't go back and read again, ये वापस भूल जाओगे. It's difficult to understand in context, and maybe once you read, try to think of your context or your assessments which you are conducting. So
So
what
actually, Gaurang,
yeah,
it is not one class. I have taken about 5 or 6
multiple
continuous
classes.
classes on various topics, but every time I used to come back to validity, reliability, using the correct terms, using which year you are taking, how the curriculum distribution is done, question difficulty levels. I think it is very disappointing that you people don't remember and don't value what we take.
No, madam, we know the, but
Ma'am,
we
we
don't
know
know
it,
the
ma'am.
exact
Anand, you
terminology.
were
All
not
the
there, so I will not take on you. But other people were there. And today also I see only seven and three are not there. Okay, two may all the three, I don't know why they have not come. And I don't know who is there with Rohit. Rohit, there are three people with you. Rohit,
Hello, ma'am.
you are there are who are the others sitting with you?
Ma'am, others, 1 second, ma'am.
I got put off, I don't want to. I'll just call people to take classes. Because if you are not giving any.
Okay, so coming back, so yes, so with whatever discussion we have had today, uh, again just go back to these concepts and read it all, and now think of examples from your own context, and that might help you to understand these aspects, in a more, in a maybe a little bit more better way. But these are definitely, I assure you, you need to revisit these a couple of times to kind of understand what they are and how they are different. There is a lot of gray area and an overlap. Keep construct kya or content kya. So construct and content are still fine, but criteria and validity, and then actually there are 7 dimensions to validity in the theory. If you go to really
So criterion validity you have not discussed, sir. Kindly discuss it one more time.
criterion,
Criterion.
again it is uh, uh, criterion. Just a minute. So an example of criterion validity. Uh,
May
some
I know who has joined with two devices? Is it Sandhya? Sandhya, you are muted.
No,
You are
ma'am.
muted.
I have only one device.
Okay, no, but who is this A and S?
ma'am, S would be me, ma'am. Shilpa.
madam, I think
A, and you are already here, but there is Meenakshi and somebody, I think. I don't know.
It's only one device, ma'am.
Yeah, even me
Is
also, ma'am. Only
Rohit?
one device, ma'am.
Ma'am, I think it is Dr. Arun.
Okay. No, but in that Arun's device, I can see Rohit also. Who is
madam,
Rohit?
madam, I think in mobile, no, it shows only maximum 8 photos only. Beyond that, it just shows others, madam.
No, and secondly, all the time keeping the video off. That means you are just present for the sake of present. He's not able to even make it video scene. I am highly disappointed, man. That means you people are not paying any attention, not thinking about it. And I am here giving you in different ways. Anyway, Gaurang, continue. I didn't know that. See, they are all intelligent people, but they are not paying any attention. They're taking it lightly.
okay.
Madam, can I request one thing? if the PPTs of the presenters can be shared in the WhatsApp group, madam, we can just go through that.
Even then,
And
there is nothing. We have shared earlier. Even then, there is nothing. You are all clicking photos and everything. You think everybody does that. Even then, there is nothing. Today is the first day I am telling you. I have been completely understanding you people. Gaurang, you can continue with the class. I don't. If they don't remember anything, they've seen the slides. They don't remember. We had discussed so many things. They don't
madam,
remember that.
no, we did all that exercise, madam. The question paper formatting, everything we did based on that Gaurang sir what is telling. So we did that exercise, madam. Only thing is that particular terminology we could not able to recall, madam. So please don't get
This
disappointed.
terminology I have taken for 4 classes continuously. 4 classes. Everybody is not paying attention. You are all switching off the mobile and you are doing what you want. This is my conclusion. I don't know. See,
Ma'am,
I
we are
also
working with
require
all the
motivation.
assignments, ma'am.
Huh?
Whatever assignments you're giving, we are working with all the assignments.
I
ma'am.
understand, Meenakshi, but today everything seems to be new to you people.
No,
We had
ma'am,
No,
we are
no,
able
no,
to
madam.
connect it, ma'am. We are able to connect with sir, ma'am.
Only thing is that constructive that those terminologies we could not able to recall, madam. Nothing else.
Please
Otherwise,
don't get
you know,
offended,
all these
ma'am. There's
whatever sir
nothing
is
in that.
talking, we could able to relate it, madam.
Ma'am,
So
it's
please
okay. I
don't
think
get disappointed.
these are difficult terminologies. That's why, and
All
it
these
is volatile.
exercises we
So
are
we are
doing, madam.
refreshing
This
it again. Yeah.
reliability, validity, preparing MCQs, all these exercises, even as a deemed university, we are all doing that. So it is nothing new to us. We're all doing it. So the only thing is some
Started with
terminologies we don't.
if I'm not wrong, madam, it started with the critical evaluation. Once we started with that class, then only we came across these 3 terminologies. From there on, madam,
I can't hear you.
madam, when we started critically evaluating question papers from the that session onwards, we are hearing these terminologies, madam.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Yeah. So, madam asked about criterion validity. So, would somebody like to first share whatever your understanding is before I comment? Any one of you?
Dr. Arun sir has prepared a nice PPT, sir. I just request him to share the content.
नहीं वो ठीक है in just a single line criterion validity मतलब क्या
Will be using to evaluate.
There will be
Sir,
certain criteria set to evaluate the.
correct okay so some criteria is set or we can call it as a gold standard some gold standard so now criterion validity refers to we have a gold standard and whether whatever assessment we are doing whether it is reaching close to that gold standard or not is the criterion validity. So for example,
How accurately it is measuring what it is supposed to measure.
For example, now say for a particular entrance test or a SAT test or whatever, there is some benchmark which is already set or established that for a particular entrance, say my students need to cross this score. Okay, so that's an average performance of the class, which is defined. Say the first time the test is conducted in the first year, a particular benchmark is reached, and if that is decided as the baseline or the golden score, the next year the score of the test being taken, whether that is matching up to the pre-decided level, is what is the criterion validity. So it will again be on a scale, as whether how much is the difference, whether it is close to the predefined criteria or not, is the criterion validity. So criterion may there is some defined standard set or a criteria defined, or whether our assessment is matching that criteria or not is referring to the criterion validity.
Measuring the outcome is also same, sir, criteria validity? Measuring the outcome of what has been set.
No, see the criteria you set standard for a complete denture prosthodontics or a edentulous patient. That's this many skills should be known.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
cannot here compromise that is unable to take a vertical relation. So you're setting a gold standard that 100% hona mangta hai, but at least up to 90 you will see. But actually this is more criteria is comparing with the highest. So you were comparing with that.
No, so Exactly. So taking up from the example which madam just quoted right now, okay, if there is a procedure which your student needs to perform, I'm sure you would have benchmarks decided कि इतना तो करना ही चाहिए perfect level पे. So that is the criterion which you are setting, and whether your scores are matching up to that criterion by the student is your criterion validity. So that's just one example. So again, what I would now like to tell you is, don't get initially too much confused about these different types of validity. First, go and broadly just understand about validity as a whole, okay, and how we can overall improve validity. So again, I'll just share my screen again, and that one slide which was having it all about how to build in validity. I'll put it up on the group again. I'm putting it up on the WhatsApp.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, in this reliability, validity, and criteria and all those things, how the domains will play a role in this, sir?
Okay, would somebody like to answer that?
Let her answer.
What do you feel? Yes.
What do you think? Supposing validity is whether the
नहीं मैम उनके ही बोलने दीजिए ना. What is your
I'm just
understanding
giving
of
her a
that?
lead that
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you are asking a question to a second year or a third year student and
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
wanting to test a certain thing, now you answer me.
Then I will set certain criteria to meet those. If they are able
That is
to
only
meet
one.
those,
It's
yes,
not
ma'am.
only criteria.
Learning
Then
objectives.
Learning
I-
objectives.
the content.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
course
Not
outcome,
area.
madam.
Then
You can say course
and in
outcome.
content, what
Course
levels?
learning objectives, ma'am.
In
Course
content, what
outcome.
levels? Whether you just want to test recall. Last time this was taken.
Yes, ma'am. Knowledge, skills, and yes, ma'am. Knowledge,
Not
skills,
knowledge,
So,
skills, and attitude in
so
cognitive
attitude.
ma'am,
Yes,
levels,
ma'am,
different levels.
can I just respond to that? So now, ma'am, your question was, can you repeat your question again? The
Sir,
role
in
of
this
domains.
domains.
role of domain, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So domains are clear. Three different
Yes,
domains.
sir. Yes, sir.
Whether you are assessing the correct domain or not is one dimension of validity.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay.
That's true.
Second aspect is now again within domain, say for example the cognitive domain only. The first year, second year students will be lower down in their domain. The
Right.
third year, final year students, interns will be higher up within the cognitive domain only. So
Right.
in your first year students, if you are asking them simple recall type questions, good validity, fine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But your final year students, should you be asking them recall type questions?
No.
No, you should be
No.
asking higher application
Higher.
Higher.
analysis like questions. But if in your
Right.
final year where you should be asking application and analysis, we still ask recall and
Recall.
understanding, validity is low. Because over
Correct.
there you are supposed to assess them on the higher
Higher order
levels,
thinking. Yes, sir.
higher order thinking skills, but you ended up assessing them at a lower order.
A lower order.
So so it's not as simple ki there are a lot of other confounding factors which come into play. What is the level of the learners? Again, one more dimension to this would be what is the purpose of the assessment? Whether it is a formative assessment or a summative assessment. Whether it is a summative assessment or an entrance test. For a formative assessment, we might have simple, what to say, easier questions as we put it, because we want the students to understand and clarify their knowledge. Whereas in a summative exam, we might focus more on application and understanding and their ability to apply the knowledge. Whereas for an entrance test, the stakes would be still higher up. So the purpose of the exam also matters. So in that, if you remember your blueprint, which was there, that the big template which we had shared, there was one aspect of the purpose of the exam or the type of exam. So that will also help to decide the type of questions and the level of questions you're asking. So yes, definitely, the domains have an impact on, or rather, they will help, or the validity of your assessment will be dependent on at what domain you are assessing and at what level and for what level of the learner. So everything now comes into play together to decide whether your validity is high or low.
Higher.
It's not just one focus कि हाँ ये है तो high validity और ये है तो low validity, ऐसे नहीं होता. So try to now bring in everything what we have been discussing for the past couple of weeks to help you improve the validity. Ultimately क्या करना है? Our goal is that whatever assessment we are conducting, the validity should be high enough. Okay, so bottom line, again I shared that slide. Now carry on message is that take, to improve the validity, you can check the slide. I've sent it on the WhatsApp. Have your outcomes well defined, have a detailed blueprint, choose the appropriate method or the task for assessment, have a appropriate difficulty level based on the purpose of the test, and again clear directions for administration, scoring and interpretation. All this will help to improve the validity. Go back to the example what we started with today. The same teacher teaching the same topic to different batches of students, but how the assessment ended up being totally different for all the four batches, and therefore the validity went low and consequently the reliability. Okay, so it's all about improving the validity.
Okay, so thank you.
See, this will again be new to you unless you people go and think about it, read about it. We have sent you articles also. So if you read that, then there is some meaning. And attend class one and not attend another, attend one, not alternate class थोड़ी चलता है.
Okay, so any further comments? Should we move on to the next section? We have presentations lined up by you all, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So shall we move on to that? Ma'am, Nagda ma'am?
Okay.
Yeah. So who would like to go first? I leave it up to you all. Yeah.
Sir, can you able to view the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Sir, the group one consisting of Dr. Anand, Dr. Arun, and Dr. Mirna, I prepared an assignment on preparation of LAQs, SAQs, SEQs, MEQs, and MCQs, and also structured viva voce based on must know, nice to know, and desirable to know. Sir. So we will be presenting on these preparation of the questions in a structured manner being taught to us.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, this is a long answer question. So the first line indicates the instructions that the candidate should read, and we have made this LAQ question based on multiple small and well-defined short questions, which includes the amount of marks and also the order of thinking. So we have comprehended that the combination or a comprehension of both lower order and higher order of thinking. The
Okay,
first
so
question is,
now, sorry to interrupt, but now because we have talked about validity today,
yes, sir.
What do you all feel now? Just this first slide as an example. If I want to make some interpretation about validity, do I need to know any more details about this? Or what do you feel overall? What more information do you need?
Sir, this question is of which year of student?
Exactly. So that is the first thing which will help us decide
Sir,
the validity, that this question is meant for which level of student. So I
all right.
think now when you all present, you can also mention ki, yeah, this is a question framed for this level of student. So it helps us understand what is the background of the learner, what is the prior knowledge anticipated, and whether we are then assessing what we are supposed to assess.
All right, sir. Sir, this
So
is for the
this is how we
final.
would kind of analyze the validity component when it comes to the questions.
Actually, that is there, sir. Maybe sir has cropped up just to present the
Yeah, no
questions.
problem. This was just to highlight or try to bring in a context with today's presentation. Nothing more. Please proceed.
Sir, this is for the final year weakness
Last time they had
summit.
put up the university name and also I told them drop it. I think this time you have prepared this and not from a maybe a question paper, or it's your preparation of this. So again, discuss has come.
Discuss.
Sir,
You can come enlist,
all right, ma'am.
and then can they answer this in the given period? All the materials and all the techniques.
All right, ma'am. Then the listing would be appropriate here.
So think from the student's perspective.
And
Student को ये
again,
अगर answer दिया गया,
discuss the challenges.
yeah. If this question comes to the students, different students, will they all interpret the question in the same way, or is it open to interpretation by different students? If different students are going to respond differently, that means there is some scope for what to say, refining the question further.
Sir, it is the question is specific, but only thing is, as ma'am mentioned, instead of placing discuss, it could be enlist various materials and technique used. That would concise the point and also make everybody on the
List the
single page.
various materials and describe any two techniques, any one technique.
Okay, ma'am.
And why write like this? Explain the importance of accurate impressions in the fabrication of complete. I don't know why impressions have to be accurate. If you want to know, I mean, inaccurate impressions causing so many other problems, you can frame the question a different way.
So it can be explain the importance of accurate impression.
Yeah. What is the importance of final
Accurate
impression
impression.
or
Okay.
primary impression in the fabrication of complete denture, and you want to highlight, you can ask um, any one material as to how you will record the details and the structures in detail. That is accuracy, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So uska, you indirectly what you're doing, you're asking also the material. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Gaurang is there. He will correct you.
So again, sir, this short essay questions is for the final year formative examinations, summative examinations, and it is meant for 10 marks. Compare and contrast the techniques of conventional impression making with the modern digital impression technique for complete edges.
It's a very good question because digital impressions have their own place and their two things are completely different. So this will be a lot of students will understand in different way and keep writing. It's good to discuss in the class. See, here you use the material, here the devices are there. This is, there are so many things. And I'm asking you, do we discuss this with the undergraduate students in detail?
Right, ma'am. Basically, understanding is to compare them with the what is the drawback of one technique versus the others, and what's the advantage of one technique over the other.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is what basically highlights.
Okay, fine.
But sir, we don't practice digital impression, no sir.
Ma'am,
So
knowing
how
is
do we
not a
compare?
problem. So
Knowing
many
is
Nice
not
things.
to
a
know. Nice to
problem.
know
Knowing
component.
is not a problem. In fact, it's good. But
Yes, ma'am.
making it as a question paper which carries some marks, it's only 2 marks, so it's okay.
And 10 marks, ma'am.
Oh, 10
10
It
marks,
is
marks.
ma'am.
10
It's not
marks,
okay.
ma'am.
It's not
That is
okay.
why.
It's not okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Because long essay questions also was 10 marks, ma'am, and short essay is also 10 marks.
Sorry, ma'am, it is 20 marks. It is 10 marks.
20.
Oh,
Okay.
that was 20. Okay.
So do
That's
we
not
have
okay.
question papers with 20 marks, sir? Long essay questions?
Ma'am, it's all up
Both
to
the
the
technique of selective
thing.
impression making in compare. Both the question together is 20. Am I right?
Both to, yes, ma'am. The each, it's a two questions, 10 questions for each questions.
10 marks for each question.
10 marks for each question.
See, what I told you last time, try to make a question as to what you want to ask, one part. Second part, try to put model answer points. And then you can decide whether you want to, which tool to be used. And if you're using that particular tool, does it justify 10 marks and 20 minutes for the students or half an hour for them to write?
And
Abhi,
model
digital
answers, I
impression
have
is
not.
a very, very wide term because there are so many different things.
Madam, model answers we have made for the Viva voice questions, madam.
Viva
Yeah,
voice questions.
no, here for your own sake. अगर
Okay, madam.
आप एज ए एग्जामिनर लिखने को चालू करोगे, if you start writing points, then you will realize, हाँ, what will the student know if I only have to struggle to think about it. So I said you test what they know, you don't test what they don't know. What
Madam
they
Arun
don't
sir,
know automatically will come.
Arun sir, you have done a one presentation of validity of checking the question paper. Can you please share that PPT which you shared with me? That he has done really good work, madam. Actually, I think you all can appreciate his work.
Yeah, sure. Let him finish this and then he can share. Key
Ma'am,
objectives of primary impression in complete venture publication.
ma'am, it's a short answer questions, marking 5. Again, for the summative exam of final year PTS.
What do you all feel?
So he has to just write the key objectives, or he has to explain the objectives for 5 marks.
Key objectives of primary impression making complete entries.
Yes,
Ma'am,
sir.
it is clear.
So it will be some 4 or 5 points, sir.
Yes,
Then
sir.
how it
So how
will
will you
justify
justify
5
5 points?
marks for each?
No, it all depends on for whom are we evaluating. We are evaluating for the PTS student. So there
See,
are 5 objectives.
I can understand that 5 points will have 5 marks if you are saying, but
Ma'am, I'm
then
not.
that will differ from examiner to examiner, student to student. So there is not sort of its question doesn't have that kind of higher validity and doesn't have the reliability too. Because if I say key objectives 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mm.
but if you are asking the objectives,
Ma'am, it need
Explain the
not to be
objectives.
enumerate the key
Explain,
objectives. I
sir.
have written what are the key
Enumerate
objectives.
and
So
explain the.
when
That would be
when
better.
an objective is written, so you can add a point, 2 points on each objectives. So that will cover up for the 5 marks. So if we are saying enumerate or list
yeah, you can say
objectives,
what are the key objectives of primary impression making in CD. Uh, then and briefly enumerate or
Explain
describe.
and enumerate and explain the objectives of
Enumerate and
primary
explain
impression.
are same. Briefly
Add
explain.
an odd tone. Add an odd tone.
Uh, See, think about it. Huh?
okay. So
These are
what
the
are the key
questions,
objectives
which
and add an
confuse the student and the examiner both. And then
we
I'm
can.
compelled to give him 4 marks because I feel अगर क्वेश्चन पेपर बनाने वाले ने ऐसा बनाया तो मैं तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर दूंगी स्टूडेंट्स को मार्क. I am on the student side. With my
So
experience, what I have seen is we have to be on the student side to encourage him to learn better. Because this is not the mistake of a student, it's the mistake of the construct. The construct is such that only key objectives. So one examiner will say 5 point आया तो 5 mark दो. Or one examiner will say there is nothing to write and no description. Some students will describe, some students will not. Okay, briefly explain the functional impression. That's okay for 5 marks. Is it okay for 5 marks?
Role, it's written role, ma'am, so it needs to explain the role rather than anything else. So functional impressions, what are the role in the complete nature constructions where it can be
So we
employed?
will give the okay, fine. Okay, so this question, have you heard about distractors? See,
Yes, yes,
only if you are going to remember the things I tell you, then let me come along on board with you.
yes, ma'am. Items, distractors,
Discrimination,
keys.
distractors.
There is a distractor is completely going tangentially, so they know that this is not the answer. See, these two distractors, they know B is the answer. What I mean to say is, don't give so much also the question on, I mean, the choices such that in selection type of question, you need to be careful with the selections that you give him from where he can choose and tick mark the answer or write the block as right question.
All right.
So, can you just suggest me some choices from where he can select, which are more closer? To capture the functional movement, to record will be a better word. Record the functional movements of soft tissue. Then, give me one more closer to it. Two more. It's not just functional movement. It's also to record the soft tissue. Huh? But it should not be only one choice can be right, no?
The one which is closer to it, ma'am.
Yes. Think about this and correct this.
To record the limiting area,
but that's
stress
also
bearing
right.
area,
That's
and
also right.
That is also right.
So, कौन सा mark करेगा? See, the distractor should not be such that they have to mark both. The distractor should not be so varied that they know this is the answer. So, this is a very low level of testing. Lower order. Now, do you agree that when a person joins as a teacher, within the first 2 years, he has to undergo such courses so that his long career
record the mucosa in a. Ma'am, we could have modified the question.
No, see, listen. Can you
have modified the question that to record the mucosa in a compressive state or in a anatomical state? Like that, we can.
Can you explain to Mirna, somebody? One of you, please explain her. What are we talking?
Ma'am, I know you are talking about the distractor, but I am telling that one of the choices, instead of putting these choices like occlusal relationship and to evaluate the patient oral hygiene, we could have put that finally the secondary impression in the complete nature is to record the mucosa in a compressive state or in an anatomical state. So that might create a confusion that whether it is a mucocompressive impression or it is a minimal pressure technique.
So which is the correct answer?
In the secondary state, ma'am, actually we are recording in a minimally compressed state, minimal
So
pressure.
I think functional also is the same. So he will mark both A and B as right. That's what I'm saying. You're not getting me, and nobody is volunteering to discuss. Please discuss among yourselves. Don't make me only speak.
Ma'am, in case if it's a lower order of thinking, this question would be okay. But to make it improvised and to get it to a next level of thinking, we could add some more distractor which are closer to the option B, ma'am.
I don't think even for lower order of thinking I will give such distractors. For a third year student also, I won't give.
Ma'am, we can also,
Mirna,
ma'am, we can also put it is
Mirna, see, they are not helping you.
prepare. Yes, ma'am.
Mirna, they are not helping you. They are not helping you by telling you what we are discussing. We are discussing that the choices of A, B, C, D should be such that only one answer can be right. And that answer should not be so obvious that everybody marks me. Like, why don't you speak
Yes, ma'am.
to her?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, one option would be to record the anatomical structures. Then second would be to record the.
Ma'am, can I say one option can be to prepare
I
for
have two answers correct.
the primary cast.
I cannot what is happening is nobody listens to me. I'm saying out of the four choices, only one choice can be right is the rule of the university and the DCA. So when you are preparing one answer to record, not capture, please, this is a wrong word. You are not photographing.
Okay.
You are recording the functional movements of the soft tissue. That's also part of the impression, recording. And also anatomical structure, that's also part. So will you mark both? And how do you, those who write A also you get marks, B also you get marks. Please mute yourself. Carpentry work is going on. Mute yourself.
Arun sir.
Anybody else wants to present?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Present.
Ma'am, after sir leaves, probably then I can present, ma'am. He's not left the meeting as yet.
I think he's presenting the other PPT which he has prepared.
Okay, sir.
If I give an MCQ, all of you listen.
Yes,
if I give an MCQ, the impression material of choice for complete denture is A, zinc oxide eugenol, B, reversible hydrocolloid or irreversible, whichever, C, light bodied impression material, D, medium body impression. Which is right? All are right. Can you give MCQ like that answers? So same thing was happening. Mirna, did you get my point now? Mirna?
Yes, ma'am. I'm there, ma'am.
Did you get the point what I'm speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
The choices should be only one right, others not right, but others should appear to be right.
Right.
They should appear to be right. Vertical relation is interarch distance. B, it can be distance between, say papilla to the ridge or whatever you can give. C, like that, closer if you give, then you come to know that the student has really read or not. Redness of the mucosa immediately after insertion of denture. A, because of improper polymerization. B, it can be allergy. C, it can be like rough areas. All are right.
Mm.
So how will you mark? That is why students win when they go to the court and say that the question is both answers are right, or they say the we must get. So everybody gets marks for the. So Mirna, whenever we are making the answer, we have to be such that only one is right, others appear to be right. And how do you do item analysis? Of anything, SAQ, LAQ, or this?
Ma'am, discuss with multiple examiners and then come to consensus what has to be.
Or maybe analyze the result, or
Yes.
maybe you yourself in the first stage
First
see
step.
the stem of the question. That's the first step. And also you see what you have asked, and the stem and the distractors are such that in MCQ that everybody at least 50-60% are able to answer, the difficulty level is good. But if nobody is able to answer, it's the difficulty level so high that it's above the level. So you need to have, see, I'm not giving you the calculations and all, because if you go as a theory for as educationist, it becomes more drier and drier and drier. You have to be practical. Okay, Arun, you can go ahead.
So you're muted, sir.
This is my second MCQ, ma'am. During the impression procedure for complete dentures, why it is essential to maintain proper tissue support and pressure? To ensure patient comfort, to prevent distortion of tissue, soft tissue, to expedite the impression process, to reduce the amount of impression material required. Any suggestion on this?
So to expedite the impression process, I don't think so student will be able to relate with that. Maybe we could change the option provided.
Verb. Yes, ma'am. Verb has to be changed.
Yeah, to expedite the impression process, probably they will not be able to understand that.
But there are two answers, right? Patient comfort is also important.
Yes.
Because
And
when you
distortion
have such
also.
support and pressure, and also prevention of, so I can't give marks for both, right, Arun? See, now I think let a group 2 or somebody put, because Arun, you have last time also you were presenting and it was time up. Is that okay? He's not there, I think.
He's there, ma'am. He's there, ma'am.
Okay. Group 2?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, are the slides visible, ma'am?
Yeah, it's visible, ma'am.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Yes. Ma'am, ours was
full screen, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Full screen, ma'am.
I've done the full screen mode. It is not seen?
Not visible, ma'am.
I can see it very clearly.
Full screen mode, ma'am?
You want to do full screen?
Yes, ma'am. So is it visible, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, it's visible. You can make it as a full screen. It is more visible.
Sir, I've
Arun,
put
I
it as
think,
full screen only,
Arun,
ma'am.
is there a carpentry work going on in your house?
No, ma'am. People are celebrating some win or here, ma'am. Cracking the crackers
Election? Okay, okay,
continuously.
okay, okay. Okay.
Um,
Madam, put it in slideshow, madam.
I'm putting it in slideshow, but
It's okay. We are able to see now.
We are
okay,
able
ma'am.
to see,
Okay,
madam.
ma'am.
Start, will start.
So we have group two. Me, Dr. Shilpa, and Dr. Siddharth are here to present on blueprint for assessment, which was the task given to us by ma'am. So before we go proceed ahead of why assessment and what is this blueprint of assessment, it's very important for us to know that if you cannot measure something, then it is very difficult for us to improvise. And most of our students are always in this dilemma that was the appropriate questions asked, was it too long, or was the same contents and the same chapters questions were available, and all questions um, um, were selected from the same chapters, was it too lengthy? So these were the normal dilemma student will have. So what is this assessment and why should we do assessment of students? And it is very important for us to delineate assessment from evaluation. So assessment is mainly done to have the accountability and fairness towards the competency of students. So assessment is mainly an ongoing, depending on, as sir was explaining, whether it is formative or summative. It improves the quality. It provides the individual attention of the student as well. And when it compared to evaluation, it is the end result what we are actually evaluating. So very important for us to know is when to assess a student and how to assess. So depending on the curriculum which we are following our DCI protocol, and to also assure the competencies are built among the student, we need to do the assessment. So as sir has already discussed in his previous slides, that there are different types of assessments such as diagnostic assessments, formative and summative assessment. Formative is which is done throughout, and summative is at the end of the session. So what is considered as a good assessment? If it is accountable, then it is mainly considered as a good assessment. There is fairness of evaluation among all the students, as sir has aptly discussed among reliability and validity. Of course, our assessment should be more valid than reliable. Reliable to a certain extent, but it has to be more valid, and evaluate the built-in competencies of the student and reflect their learning outcomes. And hence comes the picture of blueprint. So I
Ma'am,
will not
sorry
be.
to interrupt. Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt. Let's not call it that it should be more valid and less reliable. It's not like that. That would
Okay,
send
sir.
out a wrong message. You say
Okay.
that it should be valid,
Valid.
reliable and
Okay.
valid. Yes.
Reliable
No,
and
but
valid. Yes. Yes.
the point is that if we aim for validity, reliability will be
Valid.
ensured.
Yes. Yes, sir.
That doesn't mean that reliability has some low weightage or anything like
True.
that.
True, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the benefits of blueprint assessment is to align with our learning objectives, and to know that there are no questions which are out of the syllabus, and to also enhance the thinking skills of the student, and to assess the in-depth knowledge. So let me not go into details of this. So it's very important to know, for us to know the three pillars of education, that is our intended learning outcomes, what are the teaching learning activities we are supposed to get involved to, and how the assessment tasks are framed for to establish the learning outcomes. So hence this is called as constructive alignment. So before we go into the learning objectives, there are several questions which we need to ask ourselves when we are doing an assessment blueprint. Who are the students we are designing this assessment test for, as ma'am aptly asked, and what was the flaw in the first question, and sir has missed of adding which students they were assessing. So that would be the first question which we are supposed to ask ourselves, whether the assessment is meeting the target audience, and what are the important concepts or principles we are assessing the student of to meet the learning objectives, and what level of knowledge are we assessing from the student, and why do we need what do they need to know and remember, and what reasoning and problem solving skills do students need to use in order to demonstrate that they have met the course objectives. There's course learning objectives and program learning objectives. Last class madam has discussed on program learning and course learning. Program learning is at the end of the session, the student has to have all these skills, and courses, to which particular year are we giving the assessment. Are there any performance skills the student needs to demonstrate? If it is higher order skills which the students needs to demonstrate, and what skills will student need to use as part of the assessment? If it is OSPI and OSCE, will they need to demonstrate? Are there any products that students must be able to create in order to demonstrate mastery of objectives? So these are the set questions which we need to keep in mind whenever we are formulating an assessment blueprint. And hence, we have done the blueprint for removal partial denture targeting final year students. So the learning objectives would be, by the end of this course, the student will be able to demonstrate basic knowledge of principles and techniques pertaining to the treatment of partially edentulous patients, diagnose and treat partially edentulous cases for proper prosthodontic restoration of form and function, provide correct information on standards of care for the management of patients requiring removal partial prosthodontic treatment, which is the higher order skill for final year students, perform all laboratory procedures required to design and fabricate a removable complete denture. So hence comes the course learning objectives, that is the domains of learning which we will be addressing to make a assessment blueprint for removal partial denture. That is the knowledge, the skills, the competence, or the attributes or the attitudes which we are supposed to assess. So based on this, the learning objectives, these are the things which we need to assess, whether the student needs to remember, to understand, to apply, to analyze, or to evaluate, or to create, and we give the assessment. So this is what we are supposed to assess. And how are we? So this is the learning objective for today's session, that we need to know how to do a blueprint assessment. And here we are to prepare a blueprint assessment for 4th year BDS students for removal partial dentures. So it's very important for us to know, before we fabricate a blueprint assessment, there are two important things. One is the impact, the other is the frequency of how it is being done and what are the questions which we need to know. And based on the impact and frequency of questions comes the weightage. How much of marks will the chapters carry marks? So the impact, if we have to know, and this was discussed in last two classes also, just for your information, the impact is graded into 1, 2, and 3, whether it is nice to know, desirable to know, and must to know. And frequency is rarely asked, less commonly asked, and most commonly asked. And these are the numbers which we give for the questions.
Can I interrupt here?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Not less commonly asked.
Okay, ma'am.
Is the prevalence of the particular procedure, the disease in the practice.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
And then you said rightly that the impact is nice to know, because these are the areas wherein they have to know.
Yes, ma'am.
That's important. That means the impact on the practice and the patient is more.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't want you to use the word so early, the nice to know. You have to use the impact.
Impact, okay.
And you have to use the frequency. That's the weightage.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So based on the topics of removal partial denture, we have come into consensus, me, Siddharth, and Shilpa, and we've shortlisted these 7 topics where the final year student should know. So based on this, we have categorized the long essay questions, the short essay questions, short notes as must know, should know, and nice to know. And these are the range to be given for each chapters. For must know, the ideal requirement is 6 to 9 points. For should know, it is 3 to 4 points. For nice to know, it is 1 to 2 points. So in the similar fashion, it goes on for short essay and short notes as well. So what are the topics which we have enlisted? Classification of partially edentulous arches. What are the components of removal partial denture? Mouth preparation, surveying, design principles and considerations of partially edentulous arches, impression techniques for distal extension cases, and precision attachments. So based on that, we have fabricated a skeleton of assessment tool. That was one of the blueprint which I have taken, and we have fabricated as per our curriculum designing. How many long answer questions, how many short answer questions, short notes, and MCQs should fall into removal partial denture protocol. So based on that, how many long answer questions which will you give for removal partial denture will be 1. Short answer questions or short essay questions will be 2. Short notes will be 2.
Meenakshi, please make the slide bigger, no?
Okay.
They're very difficult to read.
Ma'am, okay. Ma'am, is it seen, ma'am?
No, it's
Madam, increase the zoom percent, madam.
Ma'am, click from current slide. From current slide.
Oh, okay, sir.
From second one.
Yes. Is this okay, sir? Is it seen? Is
You
it
have to
visible,
click the second. Yes, that one. That one you have to click.
Yes,
You need to click that.
I have clicked that. Is it
I
seen?
think ma'am is clicking, but it is not
Happening.
Meenakshi, madam, if it's
Yes,
not
sir.
happening, bottom right you see there is the zoom percentage. It is in 60 now. You can make it
Okay.
80 or something. So it will
Okay.
be
Is it
little
visible?
bit less. Little bit less, madam.
Yeah.
Little bit less.
Okay. 1 second, 1 second. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
better.
sir. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
better.
yes, ma'am. So, so based on this, we have divided the number of questions and we have allotted the marks for the same. So the total number of questions for removal partial denture would be 7. The number of marks allotted would be 34. So based on this, the questions can be distributed as 70% should be, they must know, 20% desirable to know, 10% would be nice to know areas which we will be selecting from the available topics to fabricate our assessment tool. So based on that, ma'am, this was discussed in the last class also. Here, I would like to highlight again. So, based on our consensus, we have selected question papers from different universities, and we got to know that classification of partially edentulous arches, impact and frequency will come up to 3. That means they should be knowing it. So, when you multiply impact and frequency, it comes to 9. So, the weightage will be around 2 if you see the last point. So, the marks, your area of interest should be only the last column, where the marks allotment would be more for first chapter, second chapter, and the fifth chapter, that is design principles and considerations of various partially edentulous arches. Because the score is 9, 9, and 9 for all the three, whereas less for fourth, sixth.
Meenakshi, can you explain to them again?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Very slowly, you're going very fast.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am. So the impact and frequency based on the particular chapter is whether they should be knowing or whether it is desirable to know or nice to know. That means that denotes how much of marks you will be allotting for each chapter. So based on that, we have calculated as 3, which is they must be knowing, and frequency most expected. So first, second, and the fifth chapter, they should be knowing. For when the
no, marks preparation is also very important, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So
yes.
Don't give impact as one.
Yes, ma'am. Impact is, yes, we have reduced the impact because when we examined so many question papers, we got to know that only very few questions were asked for mouth preparation. They were asked as short notes, not as short essays on main question, ma'am. So hence we have kept as impact and frequency as only one.
I will ask you one question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not in your college as a teacher when you're creating it.
Then we will be keeping as 3, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Importance of topic from your experience, what you're creating.
Okay.
And the number of hours you have spent on teaching mouth preparation.
Yes, true, ma'am.
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yes.
Madam, the frequency is based on the, like we consider different universities, so the frequency will be determined by the number of times this question has been asked as a main question.
Many times, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So based on that category, because we have taken this consensus and we got to know that it was only asked quite a less number of times when compared to the other chapters. So for time being, we have kept it as 1, ma'am. But as you said, we spend a lot on mouth preparation.
Actually speaking, that is one way of looking at it theoretically.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
But I would not look at it like that.
Yes.
I would change the trend. Why should I follow the crowd and not ask such important questions?
Right. Exactly. Why to repeat the question?
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Ma'am, do we have to check the amount of hours allotted for each?
You should.
We should.
And it's not like the school or the 12th standard. It generally, see, when I start a chapter on component parts, I spend at least 8 or 10 sessions, and I also have some practical lessons for them. So when I am spending 10 hours on that, I think it deserves a good amount of visibility, and it is important. So I will put it like that. But if you take from question paper, you're going with the crowd that koi nahi puchta ka, main bhi nahi puchta hai. Are you have to break the trend, and now you start asking on mouth preparation.
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
You are joined this course. We are different from others.
Yes, ma'am. True, ma'am. So based on this, now we will go ahead and we will see what are the situations for long essay questions. So these are the long essay questions, and where me, Shilpa, and Siddharth have decided, we have sat together and we have come with this impact, frequency, and weightage, ma'am. So the long essay would be classify partially edentulous arches with Applegate's rules. Describe in detail about design considerations for distal extension for mandibular arch. So they'll be classifying for 5 marks and they'll be describing for 5 marks. So totally it will be around 10 marks.
So we have divided the question, like the weightage also, madam, for the division of the question.
So that it will be easy for the student also to answer, and he will keep that in mind for 5 marks, how much I should be answering for when there is classification. along with Applegate's roots, and how he has to describe for design considerations for mandibular distal extension partial denture. The second question is define surveyor, mention its parts, explain in detail the step-by-step procedure in surveying. So we have divided the marks distribution as defining 3 marks, mentioning its parts along with a diagram if at all if he is doing. Ma'am?
Nothing.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
In the first question,
yes.
Describe in detail about design consideration for distal extension for mandibular arches. 5 marks is less for that.
No.
Go back.
Madam, it is specified that it is for distal extension.
Distal extension, mandibular.
If you are saying, madam, distal extension, indirectly we are giving a hint that it is specifically related to one classification.
One classification only, Kennedy's class 2.
So
and pertaining to mandibular arch only.
So that way it is fine. If you had mentioned only mandibular arches, then it would have been little bit.
It would be tedious, yes. All classifications would have come. All.
And in this, 2 things you remember.
Yes, ma'am.
One is we don't want to make the students restricted with only give 2 examples, only give. At the same time, to help them, we give. And at the same time, we want the students to use this precise writing skills.
Right.
So you teach them from the beginning for a 70 marks, 100 marks paper, 3 hours. How much time can he spend on MCQ? 20 minutes. How much can he spend on the other questions that he has to divide and write? Nobody will consider that he wrote about distal extension for 3 hours and no, he didn't write anything else. So these are the things we have to, so that this is indirect management you are teaching him. Time management, managing the thought process, channelizing, presenting, everything comes.
And also, madam, I think in the second question, the define surveyor, that impact even you can raise it to higher, madam. Means it can be either 2 or 1 because it is you are asking the step-by-step procedure of doing the surveying.
No, but
so it is not just nice to know.
3 is
Even
the highest. 3 is the highest.
Yes.
It goes from 1
1 is
to
the
3,
lowest.
sir. Ascending, sir.
And
Yes,
it comes
that-
under
Yes,
the
ascending and 10 marks is
must-
the maximum, sir.
3 is the maximum impact, sir.
2021, if any question on COVID related symptoms, I would have given 3. But today you will give it only 2. Sometimes even 1.
Yes.
And of course, the people talk of long COVID, other things. So it depends on the medicine person who feels that prevalence of the disease in that particular area, the number of people afflicted by that, and how the students are teaching, students are being taught, and what is the material available. Basically, the material available is not much in that area. I'm just giving you an example. If something comes on digital impressions for a student, are we exposing them to scanners? Are we in oral scanners? Or we are exposing him to something else? Or maybe the impression is taking an impression is scanned. The other way around.
Okay. Ma'am, here one more thing I want to clarify, because sir has told about content and construct. Maybe here we will be able to understand the questions are the content and the type of MCQs which we have selected, MCQs or MAQs, is the construct validity to evaluate the.
I will come here.
Okay, ma'am.
I taught you about criteria.
Yes,
so you
ma'am.
set a criteria that about this question of surveyor, what all you are expecting, you must see, is it okay
Correct.
that if he doesn't know the parallelometer, what is
True,
it
ma'am.
used, it is
Right,
not.
ma'am.
So he must know many of the things, like he must know the parts, he must know how to use the pencil, you must know how to go around, all those things.
What are the
It is
tools?
criteria.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Yes, ma'am.
content is the surveyor topic itself.
Hmm.
So in content, what do I want to ask? Accordingly, I will construct the question. So the content, the stem of the question, and
how it is assessed is
what verb you use, define, describe, enumerate, or compare, analyze. Accordingly, the construct of the question should be proper. The construct of the question should be relevant. Ask yourself if the students will be able to answer immediately. As a good academician, you must write down, I expect this points. And secondly, one more construct mistake we make is we ask a question with a purpose which other people may not understand.
Correct.
Because if I put a verb or if I don't write a complete question properly, the student will think, like supposing I say any 4 important objectives. Okay, now 4 important objectives, any 4 important objective is okay. But if you say 4 important, for me the 4 important are different than to the other examiner. Inter-rater reliability will not be there. Secondly, the student also will think. So these are the construct, reliability that you see. If the question is not reliable, then there is no valid question of validity. And if the question is not valid, for what purpose you are asking him, of course it will not be reliable. They go hand in hand. If somebody asks you what is more important, of course you want it to be reliable from time to time. But if there is no validity of the way you have constructed the question, you have used the sentences, if there is no validity of the content not being taught and the content not being assessed. Now you said it's not so often asked in the question papers, the mouth preparation. I think somebody should break the trend and ask the mouth preparation is most important. If the foundation is not good, then how do you justify the prosthesis? As I said last time, that wrong way of teaching prosthodontics and writing books, complete denture. It's not about complete denture. It is about the edentulous arch that we are rehabilitating. So it's all about the space, edentulous space that is in the patient's mouth, and that is a whole patient. So it's all about the patient. Nothing is about any spaces. Nothing is only about the prosthesis. That's why the students say that I learned implant. The next thing I want to do is, if there is a missing tooth coming to my clinic, I want to put an implant, place an implant. And try to use correct words. Like we have been used to, so I will not criticize that part. Say capture is different and making an impression is different. Recording is different. Yeah. And then you use words like discuss, it's a discussion face to face. What are you going to discuss in the paper? If you say understand, it's very abstract. Only I know how much I understand. And I presume that you understand the same. And there are lots of things like that, what you ask is not right. And you expect him, you say enlist, and you expect him to explain also.
Yes, ma'am. So this was for...
Madam, you continue, madam.
Yes, Siddharth?
Madam, you continue, I defend.
Okay. So for short essay questions, for surveying and designing, this was the blueprint. I will just skip these with the blueprint score which we have got. So these are the MCQs which we have designed for removable partial denture. Which of the following is true for Kennedy's class 2 with Applegate's roots? So Kennedy's class 1 involves bilateral edentulous area posterior to the natural teeth, while a class 2 has unilateral edentulous area posterior to the natural teeth. So the right answer is 4. Kennedy's class 3 always has one unilateral edentulous area.
Can you increase the percentage, please?
Okay, ma'am.
Only of the writing.
Okay.
Can't read.
One minute.
Meenakshi madam, you can drag that scroll to left side.
Yes, doing.
Arey bas abhi.
Okay, ma'am. So option 2 is Kennedy's class 3 always has one unilateral edentulous area with teeth posterior to it. A class 4 has single edentulous area crossing the midline and anterior to the natural teeth. You may have up to 2 modifications only in Kennedy's class 4 case. If a second and third molar is missing and is not to be replaced, it is not considered in the Applegate's rules. If it is to be replaced, it will determine the class. Modifications are those areas other than those that determine the classification and are designated by the number. So these are the options.
Anyone wants to ask her anything, or she can go ahead?
Sorry, ma'am. 1 second.
See, to write options, no, it has to be as short as possible.
Okay, ma'am.
Don't write if or all those things. You just give a situation, make it shorter.
Okay, ma'am. Done.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Posterior teeth missing.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh? And it's not considered for replacement.
Replacement.
So you can reverse and ask.
Okay, ma'am.
You can reverse and ask it short. If and all, don't ask.
Okay.
Ma'am, this comes under Applegate's rules, no, ma'am? So that is why.
So that's why we have put the same Applegate's rules, ma'am.
Yeah.
So the second question is, after surveying your diagnostic cast, you determine your RPT design and necessary alterations. The design is then drawn on the cast and you are now ready to make tooth modifications. In what sequence will you follow? Height of contour, guiding planes, rest seat, or impression? Second option, guiding planes, impression, height of contour, rest seat. Third option, guiding plane, height of contour, rest seat, impression. The fourth option is guiding planes, height of contour, impression, and rest seat.
Very good.
So, ma'am, I'll just minimize this a little more so that it will be easy for you to understand. For short essays, again, we have for each category, long essay, short notes, and MCQs, we have designed the blueprint. That is the amount of marks which the short essay should carry. So based on that, the two of the questions are explain rest and rest seat with neat label diagram. So so the second question is describe designing a lingual bar with a diagram. Name two spelling mistakes. Name two indications of the same. So many of the times the only lingual bar is asked, and hence we have kept it as desirable to know. Impact and frequency, they should be knowing it. Whereas rest and rest seat, they should be knowing, hence impact and frequency are most.
That's a must know topic.
Yes, must know. Again, for short notes, list the indications of removable partial denture, where impact and frequency, they should be knowing for a final year student. Define and classify survey lines. These are 2 marks questions, and hence this also they should be knowing, and hence it is, the blueprint score is also high and it is required for them to know. So those were the blueprint score for the content, that is the chapters. These are the blueprint score for the chapters and how they need to be assessed for each chapter. Long essay, which chapter should fall. For short essay questions, which all chapter should fall. Short notes, which all chapters should fall. And what are the total marks allotted for each chapter. So based on that, the total marks should be coming from first chapter and the 5th chapter. And components will be the second, if at all, if they're coming as short notes. And the surveying, so these 2 will come for short notes, where the remaining will come for the short essays, the remaining will come for short notes. These 5 marks questions is for short notes. So precision attachments, you can ask for 2 marks question, because that is nice to know topic, not extensively it will be covered in final year, but they should be knowing it, and hence we have kept it for 2 marks. So these are the question distribution across the topics and how the questions are set and what are the marks to be allotted for each topic. So this forms the exact blueprint for removable partial denture. Is this okay, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, coming to structured YOSA question examination. Shilpa, would you like to highlight a little
I'll
on
take.
this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So the structured Viva was examinations. We have divided into three segment, ma'am. Nice to know, must know, and desirable to know.
Desirable.
So in this, the students, if the student answer for the first question, then only we will ask for the leading question. So if the student failed to answer for the first question, then we'll skip to the next card. So the first question is, what are the major connectors? And if the student answer for that, then we'll go for the leading question, that is, name any maxillary major connector advisable for distal extension cases. So the answer would be, uh, a major connector is a part of a removable partial denture to which all other parts are attached, directly or indirectly. And the answers for the leading question is a palatal strap major connector, the anterior and posterior strap major connector, full palatal coverage, and AP bar major connector. And the next question, this is a should know category, where the first question in that category, the first will be name all the parts of a cast partial denture. If the student answer for that, then we'll ask for the enlist all the parts for in designing a cast partial denture for a mandibular class 1 situation. So the answer will be all the major connector, minor connector, direct retainer, indirect retainer, and rest and rest sets. And if possible, the second leading question will give you the exact location for where exactly the
Yes.
selection of each part for the design consideration. Then third, nice to know category. The first question will be what is RPA system, and the leading question would be what are the advantages of RPA system. So the answer is RPI, where the student will answer R stands for rest on the mesial surface of the distal extension area, and P stands for proximal guiding plate, and I for the I bar clasp. And the list of the advantage is the advantage would be the minimum tooth coverage, reduces stress on the abutment, and improved retention and stability to change by changing in the fulcrum line.
So this is again
This is
the
again,
impact,
we
frequency, and
have
weightage for the three questions.
weightage of those
Yes.
questions has been calculated.
So all three comes under must know category only. So they should be knowing about it. Being a higher order thinking, even RPA system also will come into the frequency and
So
impact
in
should
the
be.
nice to know area,
Yes, ma'am.
the student
Yes,
is an
ma'am.
intelligent student and you want to give him a little benefit of doubt, you can ask different. Like,
Okay.
for an undergraduate student,
Yes,
any
ma'am.
near all of, the materials which are newer, or maybe any other form of that you want to ask, or any other innovation, that is a nice to know.
Okay.
Madam, we have limited these questions only to designing, maybe probably regarding beading, wax,
Okay,
depth, and
fine,
or something.
fine.
And we have done this.
Okay.
This
So now,
Viva was.
yeah, your presentation is very good. I must say
Thank
that
you,
all
ma'am.
three of you are, I mean, there is almost
Thank you, ma'am.
flawless. And the third
Thank you, ma'am.
group, can we take you next time? And you can make third group. You want to present now?
Ma'am, we can cover it today.
तो कौन है third group में? Nobody is even answering.
Ma'am, actually, I don't know which group I am because I was absent last class, so I'm not aware of which group I am.
But when you are
I have
absent,
not
I
gone.
request all of you to take down what has been done, ask them to give you a topic name and what was done in general, and also ask what is the assignment or what is the task.
So
Who is the third group? Nobody is in the third group.
I must be there in the third group, ma'am, because I'm not there in the first or second group. So I must
Mirma,
be.
you are in which group?
First group, madam. Minna madam is there in first group.
I was in
I
first
think
group.
Padia sir and Rohit sir is
Okay, so
in the
next
last
time
group,
you
ma'am.
present.
Yes, ma'am.
But now I want you all to make the corrections what are told. Like group 1, group 2, group 3. And see, I don't expect you, this is not a rocket science that you will not remember validity reliability. The validity reliability taught by the universities is very theoretical. That's why people don't remember. But the way we have put it up to you is very practical. Even blueprinting is very dry. They just give you something and they finish it off. But here we made you do the blueprint. So you
Madam,
shared it, huh?
Madam, I have a small doubt. Even the after knowing the impact, frequency, weightage, and getting the blueprint storage also, like what will be a adequate scoring criteria? That is what me and Meenakshi madam were discussing. Like what would be an
Adequate scoring criteria for
blueprinting? Like if I say a particular question or a particular topic I have taken, and we have done the scoring. So whether it's adequate or inadequate, how do we know that?
the scoring of the impact and the frequency.
That so we can find it out, madam, if it's a must know or a desirable to know. But when we do a blueprinting for the entire thing, madam, once we get the scoring for, let's say, for RPD, we have divided it into certain sections, madam. So when we are getting that blueprint score, madam, what would be an ideal score?
Siddharth, it is not the ideal score for blueprint. It is the ideal marks allotment for each chapter. So there is no something
Yeah,
called as
because the
blueprint
question
score.
only I'm not getting it. See, I'll tell
Ma'am, I
you
understood, ma'am.
one more thing. It's a good thing. He's asked in front of everybody because see, when I say you have as a teacher certain freedom, it's called academic freedom. Now I cannot argue on that. Why did you put RPI? That's why I kept quiet. RPI in the nice to know. But we all know that RPI is a very common question, and for what reason I don't know. Alternate years RPA asked, and the students don't do it only.
Uh,
And okay, that's okay. We need to change certain things in prosthodontics, and we need to be leaders. I would not make a frequency table and a weightage table, impact factor along with the question paper of the university is rubbish there. Don't make me speak. Okay, because see, by the time we also learnt, I also learnt everything. 10 years had passed that I was teacher. So I used to wonder, ऐसा सब कर दिया, कितना wrong किया. But then again, when you do it and when you see other people working in the same way, it's very demotivating. And many a times, the question you try to construct it very scientifically with a proper meaning, proper construct, and the content is widely covered. The content coverage is important. Then you know it's valid. I cannot ask one chapter and ask all the questions in that. Or I just pick up my favorite topics or 4 topics from the 30 chapters or the 30 enlisted topics of the learning objectives. I need to be. That's why the question bank one session is very important because question banking is not just collecting papers. It is much more than that. It's proper Excel sheet prepared as to how the question pattern has been asked and how the students have asked. See, there's a lot. We'll talk about the question bank. I think I'll give it to you as an assignment also after showing you the question bank. So it is very different. So now that you want to know the scoring, there is nothing perfect. Generally, don't make it very tight compartment. There are gray areas because I, as a teacher, earlier would have spent probably the whole year of final year, one lecture a week on complete denture. What is its impact and frequency in complete practice today? I will not consider that because even if you do the implants, certain principles and certain theories come. So there I will see that this is a basics of prosthodontics which gives the concepts and theories and understanding to the student. That is why that is important. So still lot of, but asking the whole paper as complete denture, whole paper as RPD, whole paper as FPD is wrong. It is just situations and what you plan. It is not fixed partial denture paper. It is that the patient needs a fixed prosthesis, wants a fixed prosthesis. Does it fulfill the need of the oral cavity, the health of the oral cavity? We need to see. See, I am not here to teach you prosthodontics here. But certain terms, certain things, what you ask is should be very perfect in the sense that there is no compromise in the prosthodontic terms. You can't take an impression, you make an impression. So similarly, there are lots of words in prosthodontics we have to be careful about as a teacher.
Madam, one more
And
doubt.
so now, if you say what is the blueprint scoring, there is nothing like scoring. But if you are taking incomplete denture, since our question paper is complete denture, prosthesis. If you're taking and you have not only impressions, primary, secondary, you have got the different recording of jaw relation, including the orientation relation. You have the trial, you have the anterior selection of teeth, posterior selection of teeth. You have other things like resorption and how the complete denture has to be again and again. So you have to how often the patient comes, what the instructions you give the patient, and what the dental delivery instructions, and all these things are there. So now, can anyone you say is less important than the other? No.
Madam, one more thing I saw once Chinmay sir said one article after that I went through two articles in medical education. One was related to pathology, one was related to pharmacology.
Yes.
Like Madam said that the blueprint score is about marks. It is not about marks, Madam. They have stated that cognitive emphasis for formative assessment is different. Cognitive emphasis for summative assessment is different. Your blueprint for cognitive emphasis for a formative is different, for a summative is different. But that thing, how to implement into our
That is
dental.
your way, your freedom. I am again telling you, in formative assessment, I will use assessment for learning.
Exactly.
And in the summative, I want to assessment of learning. Has he learned? No opportunity further. But assessment of learning, what you have done, is also set of internal assessment. Assessment for learning, of learning, or as learning. When I say as learning, I have given him opportunity with a feedback. And these people who are hardcore educationists, they go a lot very strictly particular. You can't apply all those things. Please learn, be flexible, use these techniques to prepare a question paper, propagate among your colleagues, but at the same time, like example, relining, rebasing is important or not?
Important.
Huh. But in the undergraduate paper, if you take hardly questions asked.
Correct. Correct.
And selective grinding. What do you mean by selective grinding? And see, certain terms are also incorrect. And when you say selective grinding, what about the only the occlusal papers are used? Is there any other indicator? Or you just go to the digital devices which cost you lakhs of rupees? So here you are teaching completely seen with a very broad perspective that I want the students to understand about the occlusal analyzer, but he may not be able to use in the private practice. At the same time, the importance of the impact of the occlusion on the soft tissue, on the bone, on the TMJ, all these things should be known. As a teacher, you are using this not just to be a examiner. You're using this to modify your teaching methods also. And if you use the blueprinting the way you showed me, Meenakshi, just now,
Yes.
it's the first step.
Yes, sir.
And it's a very, very important step that you're taking to make it. Okay. See, certain things, what I have told you, please modify and share your questions, your PPT on the group.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all of you. And next time we start with your presentation, make your group. I think that Jyoti and Padiyar are absent. They may be in your group.
Yes, ma'am. I'll contact them.
And even if you don't, then you prepare and you
Yes,
explain
ma'am.
them.
I'll do that. I'll do.
You prepare and you explain them. And
Yes.
now please put in the group that those who are unable to attend today, these are the things we have discussed. And anything, the material you want, please contact us.
Okay.
Now, do you remember that we had discussed that case of what Gaurang showed you initially, that scenario? I told you about validity, reliability,
Yes.
starting with that. I put it in a different way also for
Yes,
you.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, good night.
Yes, good night, ma'am.
Good night, ma'am. Good night, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Good night, ma'am.